Space had never felt this empty before. The small alien vessel named Asteron floated like a dying leaf in the endless dark. Its engines were silent. Its lights flickered weakly, like a candle fighting against a storm. For weeks, the crew had waited. For weeks, they had begged the stars for help. But the stars only watched in silence. The crew had stopped counting days. Food supplies were almost gone. The air recyclers barely worked. The temperature kept dropping a little more each day. The cold bit through even the thickest uniforms. They had sent hundreds of distress signals. "This is cargo vessel Asteron," the messages always said. "Systems failing. Crew in danger. Request immediate assistance." And yet, nothing. Not a single voice had answered. The galaxy was full of ships, full of people, full of empires. But for this small crew, it was like being buried alive under infinite darkness. The captain, a weary alien with dull golden eyes, stared out of the cracked observation window. He had commanded ships for 30 years. He had crossed trade routes full of pirates. He had seen wars burn entire moons. But never had he felt so powerless as he did now. One of the youngest crew members, her face pale from hunger, finally whispered the question everyone feared. "Captain, are we going to die out here?" The captain's jaw tightened. He wanted to tell her no. He wanted to promise rescue, warmth, safety. But the words refused to come. Instead, the silence spoke for him. The crew huddled together near the heater core, the only warm place left on the ship. Their eyes were hollow. Some had stopped talking entirely. They were drifting between fear and exhaustion, between hope and surrender. Then came the beeping. It was soft at first, a tiny sound on the radar console. Beep, beep, a single moving object, far away but approaching fast. At first, no one reacted. There had been false alarms before. Pieces of rock, dead satellites, drifting wreckage. But this signal was different. The object was big, very big, and it was coming straight for them. The crew rushed to the control room. The young navigator tried to adjust the broken sensors, her hands trembling. "It's huge," she whispered. "Bigger than any civilian ship." The weapons officer, though they had no weapons left, muttered darkly, "Pirates. Has to be." The medic shook his head. "Too fast for pirates. Too direct." The captain leaned over the radar. His tired heart thumped harder. He knew what the others were thinking. Out here, in the lawless edges of the galaxy, ships this size rarely meant rescue. Most times, they meant death. He swallowed hard and opened the communicator anyway. His voice cracked as he sent the signal again. "This is cargo vessel Asteron. Engines dead. Crew in danger. Request immediate." Before he could finish, the speakers crackled. A voice spoke. Calm, deep, steady. "We read you, Asteron. Help is on the way." The crew froze. For weeks, only silence had answered them. Now, suddenly, a voice cut through the darkness like a lifeline. The captain stammered, "Identify yourself." The reply came instantly. 2 words that shook the room. "Human fleet." The crew stared at each other in disbelief. Humans? That was impossible. Stories of humans were old, too old. They were said to have vanished centuries ago after some great war. Some called them ghosts of history. Others said they had destroyed themselves. And yet, here they were. The navigator adjusted the cameras toward the approaching object. When the image appeared, several crew members gasped. It was not a rescue shuttle. It was a monster of metal and fire. A warship, black as the void, lit by the cold blue glow of engines powerful enough to shatter planets. Its hull bristled with weapons, rail cannons, missile pods, energy turrets. It moved with the confidence of a predator, like nothing in the galaxy could stand in its way. The words "human fleet" on its side gleamed faintly under starlight. The captain felt his throat go dry. This was no ordinary rescue. The voice came again, firm and final. "We're coming." No hesitation. No questions. No demands for payment or allegiance. Just certainty. The crew stared at the massive warship drawing closer, its silhouette blotting out the stars behind it. In that moment, The fear inside the Astron changed into something else. Something warmer. Something stronger. For the first time in weeks, the crew felt hope. But deep inside, the captain knew this was only the beginning. Because ships like that didn't appear just to save one stranded vessel. Something bigger was moving in the galaxy. And the return of humanity would change everything. The massive warship closed in, growing larger on the alien crew screens until it felt like it would swallow their small vessel whole. The crew of the Astron stood frozen, staring at the black giant in silence. Even the hum of their failing systems seemed to vanish, as if the entire ship was holding its breath. It was like watching a storm move across the stars, slow, unstoppable, and full of hidden power. The captain's hands tightened around the edge of the control panel. He had seen battleships before. The Empire owned many of them. But this one felt different. The human ship looked alive. Its armor was layered with scars, proof of battles fought long ago. Its engines glowed with blue fire, each pulse sending tremors through the void. Weapons lined its surface like rows of watchful eyes, ready to burn the sky itself if needed. The captain didn't know why, but he felt something strange. A sense of safety and danger all at once. The communicator crackled again. "This is the United Human Fleet," the deep voice said. "We have your signal. Prepare for boarding. Do not be afraid." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Do not be afraid? They weren't sure if that was even possible. The humans had been gone for centuries. History books called them reckless warriors, a race that burned too bright and too fast. Some claimed they had destroyed themselves in their own wars. Others whispered they had left the galaxy behind to escape an ancient enemy. And now here they were, coming to board a broken cargo ship in the middle of nowhere. The captain nodded slowly. "Open the airlock," he ordered. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. The airlock groaned as the human warship connected to them. Magnetic clamps locked into place with a deep metallic thud that echoed through the Astron's thin walls. The crew stood near the entrance, tense and silent, as the door began to open. The first human stepped through, and for a moment, the aliens forgot to breathe. He was tall, wearing dark armor that reflected the weak light of the cargo ship. His helmet hid his face, but his movements were calm, controlled, like someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Behind him came more humans, each carrying packs of supplies. Their armor was marked with strange symbols, and small lights on their shoulders blinked softly in the dim air. They moved like soldiers, but they carried food and medical kits instead of weapons in their hands. The captain cleared his throat. You came to help us?" he asked carefully. The human leader turned toward him. When he spoke, his voice was deep and steady, like the sound of engines far below the surface of the sea. "We heard your call," he said simply. "We do not ignore distress signals." The words were said without pride, without hesitation, just fact. The crew watched as humans began unloading boxes of food, water containers, and power cells. A medic in white armor scanned the weakest crew members with a small device, then handed out something warm to drink. The aliens didn't move at first. They just stared. Why? Why would humans help strangers? Their own people, the same empire they worked for, had ignored them. No rescue ship had come. No message of hope had arrived. But these humans had come across the stars without hesitation. The young navigator, still pale from hunger, finally whispered, Why would you risk your ship for us?" The human leader paused for a moment before answering. "Because life matters," he said. "Doesn't matter if it's human or not." Simple words, but they carried a weight the crew could feel deep inside. While the supplies were given out, a team of human engineers went to the engine room. Within minutes, they began repairing the Astron systems with tools the alien crew had never seen before. Sleek devices that worked faster than anything the Empire had built. The captain watched silently. The humans didn't waste time. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't even ask for thanks. It was unsettling. These were supposed to be the ghosts of history, violent, reckless, dangerous. Yet here they were, calm and efficient, saving lives without question. As the repairs continued, The captain finally asked the question burning in his mind. "Why are you really here?" he said quietly. "Our distress call. It was not important enough for a warship like yours." The human leader turned toward him slowly. For a long moment he didn't answer. Then he said, in that same calm voice, "We go where we are needed, and sometimes we go where we are not expected." It wasn't a full answer, but something in the way he said it made the captain feel this rescue was only part of a much larger story. One the galaxy was not ready for. Outside, the giant human warship waited in silence, its weapons cold, its engines ready. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, enemies were watching. The cargo vessel Asteron felt alive again. For the first time in weeks, its cold corridors were filled with movement and voices. But most of those voices did not belong to the alien crew. They belonged to the humans. The humans moved through the ship like shadows of steel and fire. Their armor was dark, marked with glowing symbols the aliens did not recognize. Each soldier carried advanced gear, tools that hummed softly, scanners that blinked with blue light, weapons that looked centuries ahead of anything the Empire used. But what struck the aliens most was not the technology. It was the discipline. Humans moved with precision, as if every step had purpose. They did not shout orders. They did not argue. They worked quickly and quietly, repairing systems, handing out supplies, helping the weak. Felt unnatural. The galaxy had taught the alien crew to expect cruelty from power. The Empire's fleets always came with demands, taxes, threats. Pirates came with greed and fire. But these humans, they came with help. And that made them far more terrifying. The captain of the Asteron stood near the control room door, watching one of the human medics treat his injured engineer. The medic's armor was white with a red mark across the chest. His helmet was off now, revealing a face scarred by years of battle. Yet his hands were steady, gentle even, as he patched wounds with advanced medical foam that stopped bleeding instantly. The engineer, a young alien barely out of training, whispered, "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." The medic didn't look up. "Because someone should," he said simply. The words sank deep into the room's silence. The captain felt something stir inside him, something he had not felt since the first distress call weeks ago. Hope. But there was also fear mixed with it. Because no one gave this much without wanting something in return. And the humans wanted nothing. That made no sense. The human leader finally entered the control room. He removed his helmet slowly. The aliens expected some kind of monster. Instead, they saw a man with calm eyes, sharp features, and short dark hair marked with silver at the edges. He looked ordinary, but there was nothing ordinary about the way he carried himself. He walked like someone used to command. He spoke like someone used to being obeyed. "I am Captain Reynolds," he said. His voice was steady, deep, like distant thunder rolling across the sky. "Your ship will be operational within the hour. Food and water have been distributed. Medical scans are complete." The alien captain finally found his voice. Thank you," he said slowly. "But I do not understand. Why come all this way for a simple cargo ship? Why risk so much for strangers?" Reynolds studied him for a moment before answering. "We don't ignore distress calls," he said finally. "Not anymore. Not anymore." The words echoed in the alien captain's mind. What did that mean? Before he could ask, the ship's radar officer shouted from the console. "Multiple signals approaching. Fast." Everyone froze. The humans didn't. Reynolds turned calmly toward his soldiers. "Positions," he ordered. The human soldiers moved instantly, as if they had been waiting for this. The alien crew stared at the radar. Several ships were closing in, small, fast attack vessels belonging to the Empire's border forces. The same Empire that had abandoned the Astron weeks ago. Now they were coming back. Because the humans were here. The alien captain felt cold fear in his chest. The Empire would never allow outsiders, especially legendary ones like humans, to interfere in their territory. One of the alien crew whispered, "They'll kill us all." But the humans looked calm. Almost too calm. Reynolds spoke again, his voice steady as ever. You will remain on board and stay low. We will handle this. The alien captain blinked. Handle the Empire's ships? With one vessel? There are 6 of them. Reynolds turned his gaze slowly toward the massive warship outside the window. Its dark hull glimmered under distant starlight, weapons slowly powering up. One ship, Reynolds said softly. One is enough. The alien crew stared at him in disbelief. Either this human was insane, or he knew something they didn't. The first enemy ships appeared on the radar edge. The Empire would be here in minutes. The alien captain gripped the console tightly, his heart pounding. The humans had come to help strangers. But now it looked like war was coming because of it. And the galaxy was about to remember what humanity truly was. The alarms on the Astron beeped louder as the Empire's ships came closer. 6 attack cruisers, fast and armed, were racing across the darkness toward them. The alien crew stood frozen around the control room, their eyes darting between the radar screen and the massive human warship outside. The Empire's ships were not the largest in the galaxy, but they were powerful enough to destroy a small vessel like the Astron within seconds. And the Empire was known for one thing above all else, cruelty. The alien captain's hands trembled as he turned toward the human leader. They will kill us all, he said in a low voice. You don't understand. They rule this sector with fear. No one fights them. Captain Reynolds didn't answer right away. He stood near the viewing window, his face calm, his eyes fixed on the approaching enemy ships like a man watching storm clouds roll in. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but carried across the entire room. We understand the Empire, he said. Better than anyone. Those words made the alien captain pause. Better than anyone? He asked slowly. What do you mean? Reynolds turned toward him, and for the first time since he arrived, there was something cold in his eyes. Long ago, he said, the Empire tried to erase us too. The control room fell silent. The alien crew looked at each other in confusion. Erase? The Empire had fought wars with many races, yes. But to try to erase humanity? No history books had ever mentioned that. Reynolds seemed to sense their unspoken questions. They invaded Earth, he continued, burned our colonies, hunted our people across the stars. They thought we would break. His voice hardened. They were wrong. The alien captain felt a chill crawl up his spine. Reynolds stepped closer to the viewing window, his face lit by the faint glow of the distant Empire ships. We disappeared, he said. At least that's what the galaxy thought. For centuries, you all believed humans were gone. Dead. Extinct. The alien crew nodded slowly. That's exactly what they had believed. Humanity had been a story, a ghost from the past. But now, here they were. Reynolds turned toward them, his expression unreadable. We weren't gone, he said softly. We were rebuilding, watching, waiting. The alien captain swallowed hard. Waiting for what? Reynolds looked back at the massive warship outside. Its weapons were powering up now, glowing faintly in the darkness like the eyes of some ancient beast. Waiting, he said, for the day the galaxy forgot what we were capable of. The alien crew stared at him, realizing slowly what that meant. The Empire hadn't just created enemies centuries ago. It had created something worse. Survivors. Silent survivors who had been preparing for this very moment. The first Empire ships came into view now, sleek gray hunters with red markings across their hulls. Their weapons gleamed as they locked onto the Astron and the human warship beyond. A voice cracked over the comms, sharp and cold. Unknown vessel. The Empire commander barked. This is restricted territory. You will surrender the alien vessel and leave immediately, or be destroyed. The alien captain felt his heart stop. There it was, the Empire's arrogance, the same tone that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. He waited for Reynolds to answer, but the human captain only said 3 words. Open a channel. A human officer pressed a button on his wrist pad. Channel open, sir. Reynolds leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but carrying a weight that filled the entire room. This is Captain Reynolds of the United Human Fleet, he said. The cargo vessel under our protection will not be harmed. You will turn back now. The Empire commander laughed over the comms. Human fleet? Impossible. You are nothing but ghosts. Your kind is dead. Reynolds didn't raise his voice. Test that theory, he said softly. The comms went silent. The alien crew watched with pounding hearts as the Empire ships moved closer, weapons locking on target. The Astron shook as one of the enemy cruisers fired a warning shot past their hull. The alien navigator gasped. They'll kill us, she cried. They'll kill all of us. But Reynolds stood unmoving, his eyes cold, his hands clasped behind his back. Let them fire first, he said. The alien captain turned to him in shock. Are you insane? Their fleet will destroy you. Reynolds shook his head slowly. No, he said. This will be quick. Outside, the massive human warship shifted, its dark hull rotating smoothly to face the enemy fleet. Weapons powered up, glowing brighter now, like burning stars trapped inside the ship's guns. For the first time, the alien crew realized the truth. The Empire had no idea what kind of power they were about to face, and humanity was about to remind them. The Empire's ships came closer, their weapons glowing red in the darkness like hungry eyes. The Astron's crew huddled near the control room window, hearts pounding, eyes wide with fear. They had seen the Empire crush entire colonies before. They had watched fleets burn cities from orbit. And now, 6 war cruisers were circling like predators around a wounded animal. But the human warship, it didn't move. It waited, silent and still, like a beast that knew its strength and didn't need to roar. On the Empire's channel, the commander's voice was cold and sharp. Final warning, unknown vessel, he barked. Surrender the aliens. Power down your weapons. Or be destroyed. The alien captain looked at the human leader, Captain Reynolds, his voice trembling. Please, he whispered. Do as they say. If they open fire, we all die. But Reynolds didn't move. He stood with his hands behind his back, calm as a statue, watching the enemy ships like a man watching insects crawl toward a flame. Let them make the first move, he said softly. The alien captain stared at him in disbelief. This man was either fearless or insane. Outside, the Empire cruisers spread out, forming a half-circle around the human warship. Their weapons locked on target. And then, the first shot came. A beam of red energy streaked across the void, hitting the human ship's shields with a blinding flash. The Astron crew gasped, but the human warship didn't even shake. Its shields glowed faint blue for a moment. Then the light faded. No damage. Nothing. The Empire commander laughed over the comms. Impressive shields, he said. Let's see how many shots you can take. More beams fired. Explosions lit up the darkness. The Empire ships poured everything they had into the human vessel. When the smoke cleared, the human warship was still there. Untouched. Unshaken. Waiting. The alien crew felt their fear twisting into something else now. Oh! On the human bridge, Captain Reynolds finally gave the order. Return fire. His voice was calm, almost quiet, but the result was anything but. The human warship came alive. Its dark hull glowed as weapons powered up. Rail cannons, missile pods, energy lances, all locking on targets in perfect silence. Then the sky itself seemed to explode. Blue-white beams cut through the darkness, moving faster than the eye could follow. Missiles streaked out like falling stars, hitting enemy cruisers before they could even react. The first Empire ship vanished in a single blast, torn apart in a silent flash of fire. The second tried to dodge. It didn't make it. The human weapons were too fast, too precise. Within minutes, 2 Empire ships were gone, broken wrecks spinning in the void. The alien crew stood frozen, watching a single warship fight 6 enemies and win. It wasn't a battle. It was a lesson. The Empire cruisers tried to retreat now, engines flaring as they pulled back. But the human ship didn't let them go. Target engines, Reynolds ordered. One by one, the fleeing cruisers were crippled, their engines blown apart with surgical strikes. The last Empire ship tried to surrender, its weapons powered down. A desperate voice shouted over the comms. "Wait! We yield! We!" A single rail cannon shot ended the message. The Empire fleet was gone. The silence that followed was heavy. On the Asteron, no one spoke for several moments. The alien crew just stared out the window at the wreckage floating among the stars. 6 Empire ships, destroyed in minutes. By one human warship. The alien navigator whispered, almost afraid to break the silence. What are you people?" Reynolds turned from the window slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. "Humanity," he said simply. "The galaxy thought we were gone, but we were only waiting." The alien captain finally found his voice. "Waiting for what?" Reynolds looked back at the burning wreckage outside. His words were quiet but carried across the whole room. "Waiting for the day the galaxy forgot to fear us." No one on the Asteron spoke after that, because now they understood. The Empire had made a terrible mistake, and humanity had just reminded the stars why their name had once been spoken with fear. The wreckage of the Empire's fleet drifted silently through space. Broken metal spun slowly, fires burning weakly in the vacuum before fading into nothing. The alien crew on the Asteron stared at it all in shock. 6 war cruisers, destroyed in minutes. One human warship had done this, and it had done it without hesitation. But Captain Reynolds did not look at the wreckage for long. He knew this was only the beginning. "More will come," he said quietly. The alien captain turned to him, his face pale. "The Empire will send an entire fleet now," he said. "You killed their ships. They will not forgive this." Reynolds gave a small, cold smile. "Let them come." The alien crew shivered at the way he said it, because it wasn't pride in his voice. It was certainty. Minutes later, the sensors lit up again. Dozens of signals. An entire Empire strike force was entering the system. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, carriers. More ships than the alien crew had ever seen in one place before. The alien navigator's hands shook as she read the numbers. 32 ships, she whispered. They brought a whole battle group. The Asteron's crew stared out the windows as the Empire fleet appeared from hyperspace. Warships blotted out the stars, spreading into attack formation like a pack of wolves circling prey. The alien captain's voice cracked. We have to run. We cannot stay here." But Reynolds stood calm, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the Empire ships close in. "We're not running," he said. The alien captain spun toward him. "You can't fight this many. You'll be destroyed." Reynolds looked at him slowly. His eyes were cold, hard as steel. "No," he said softly. "They will." The Empire fleet sent out a message, their commander's voice full of anger and arrogance. "Human ship, surrender immediately," he ordered. "You are surrounded. If you resist, we will erase you from the stars." The alien crew held their breath, waiting for Reynolds to answer. But the human captain simply gave a single order to his crew. "Open the hangars." The alien crew turned toward the human warship in confusion. Hangars? For what? Then they saw them. Dozens of smaller human ships launched from the massive warship. Sleek, black fighters shaped like arrows of death. Their engines glowed blue as they formed perfect attack lines around the main vessel. The alien navigator whispered, "They brought a whole fleet. Inside one ship?" Reynolds gave the next command. "Engage." The Empire fleet moved first, firing a storm of missiles and energy beams toward the human warship. But the human ship didn't just take the hits this time. It moved. For a vessel of its size, it should have been slow, heavy, easy to hit. But it wasn't. The massive warship glided through the void with impossible speed, rolling and twisting as its shields flared against enemy fire. Its smaller fighters darted forward like a swarm of predators, weaving between Empire ships with deadly precision. The alien crew on the Asteron watched in disbelief as the battle exploded across the stars. Human weapons tore through the Empire fleet like paper. Enemy cruisers fell one after another, engines bursting, hulls splitting apart. The human fighters moved in perfect coordination, hitting weak points with surgical strikes. One Empire carrier tried to launch bombers. It didn't get the chance. A single rail cannon shot from the human warship split it in half before the bombers left the hangar. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. The alien captain gripped the window frame, his voice barely a whisper. This isn't possible. No one fights the Empire like this. Reynolds stood beside him, his face calm, his eyes never leaving the fight. That's because no one remembers what we were, he said. But they will. The Empire tried to regroup. Their commander shouted orders over open channels. Fighters swarmed toward the human warship in desperation. It didn't matter. Every missile they fired was intercepted. Every fighter they sent was hunted down by human pilots with terrifying precision. Within minutes, half the Empire fleet was gone. The rest began to retreat. The alien crew couldn't believe it. The Empire never retreated. But today, they did. When the last enemy ship vanished into hyperspace, the battlefield fell silent. Wreckage floated among the stars. Fires burned dimly in the emptiness. The human warship moved slowly through the debris, its hull glowing faintly from battle but otherwise unharmed. On the Astron, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the alien captain turned toward Reynolds. His voice shook as he asked the question burning in everyone's mind. Why are you really here? Reynolds looked at him, his face unreadable. To remind the galaxy, he said softly, that humanity was never gone. He turned back toward the window, watching the wreckage drift. And this was only the beginning. The battlefield was silent now. The Empire fleet was gone, either destroyed or running back to whatever safe world they still had left. The stars themselves seemed to watch in shock as the human warship floated through the wreckage, its black hull glowing faintly with the heat of battle. The alien crew on the Astron stood near the viewing window, their faces pale with awe. They had seen something today the galaxy had not witnessed in centuries. A single human warship crushing the Empire's pride like it was nothing. And it terrified them. The alien captain finally spoke, his voice quiet, almost shaking. They will come back, he said. The Empire will not forget this. They will bring more ships, bigger ships, whole fleets. Captain Reynolds stood near the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. He was calm, like a man who had seen this all before. Good, he said softly. Let them. The alien captain stared at him. You can't fight the whole Empire. No one can. Reynolds turned his gaze slowly toward the alien captain, and there was something in his eyes, something cold but also burning, like a storm waiting to be unleashed. We've fought them before, he said, and we'll fight them again. The alien crew exchanged nervous glances. This man spoke as if the Empire's power meant nothing, as if humanity feared no one. While the Astron's engines were being repaired by human engineers, the alien crew whispered among themselves. Who were these humans, really? How had they built ships like this in secret? And why had they returned now, after so many centuries of silence? The young alien navigator, still pale from hunger but stronger now thanks to the human medics, finally asked the question on everyone's mind. What do you want from us? She said softly, almost afraid of the answer. Reynolds looked at her. Nothing, he said. The crew stared at him in confusion. Nothing? The human captain nodded. We don't come to take. We don't come to conquer. We come to protect. The alien captain frowned. Protect? Protect what? Reynolds turned toward the stars outside the window, his eyes distant, as if looking at something far beyond what anyone else could see. Life, he said simply. Any life worth saving. The words struck the alien crew deeply. Their own empire saw them as tools, as workers, as pawns in endless wars. But these humans, these ghosts from the past, came to save strangers with no promise of reward. It didn't make sense. It didn't feel real. And yet, it was. The Astron's engines roared back to life an hour later. The crew cheered weakly, the sound small compared to the memory of battle still echoing in their minds. The human engineers packed their tools, silent and efficient as always. Finally, the alien captain turned toward Reynolds. What happens now? He asked. Reynolds looked at him for a long moment before answering. You take your crew home, he said. Tell them what you saw. The alien captain hesitated. And what did we see? Reynolds' expression didn't change. The truth. That humanity was never gone. That we are back. He paused, then added softly. And the galaxy is not ready for what comes next. The alien captain didn't fully understand. But he nodded anyway. The Asteron slowly drifted away from the human warship, its repaired engines humming softly. The alien crew watched through the windows as the massive human vessel turned away, its black hull blending with the darkness between stars. One of the younger crew members whispered, "Where are they going?" No one answered, because no one knew. Before jumping into hyperspace, the human warship sent one final message across the system. "This is the United Human Fleet," Reynolds' voice said, steady and clear. "To any who can hear us, the days of silence are over. The galaxy will no longer ignore the helpless. We are watching. We are here." Then the ship was gone. A flash of light, empty space where it had been. On the Asteron, the alien captain stood silently for a long time, staring at the stars. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. "They will tell stories about this day," he said. "About the day humanity returned." The young navigator nodded slowly. "The Empire will tell their own story," she said. "But so will we." The alien captain's eyes stayed on the stars. "The Empire thinks they rule the galaxy," he said softly. "But after today, I think they're afraid." And deep inside, he knew the truth. The galaxy had forgotten what humanity was capable of. But now, they would remember.